shampoo, lost and found. If you have no heart, you hear no sound. If you come up short, it'll come around. If you're too far up, just come down. Get what you give and take what you need. No need to take sides, just feel in between. Find your place in serenity. Find your inner melody. Find your place in serenity.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wisconsin State Esports Spring Championship. It is grand finals time. We've got Kimberly taking on Wisconsin Lutheran. It's the grand finals, so we've got new names. I used to be Carl. Now I'm Jarl Carl. He used to be Hunter. Now he's Yakovich. We've got some upgraded names. How's it going, sir?
It's going all right. I'm super excited about this series that we have here today. We have the I always forget the names.
Wisconsin Lutheran?
Wisconsin Lutheran versus Kimberly, and I know that Kimberly took their first round loss in the semifinals last series.
I heard a rumor that was the first game they've lost all season. They looked very dominant. We saw them on stream a couple of times. They looked great, but we never saw them against Wisconsin Lutheran. I don't know what happened during the regular season game, if they even played. We had more teams than we had rounds, so a lot of teams didn't get to play each other. We saw Wisconsin Lutheran. We were on that game earlier today. Looked very, very strong, especially in the top jungle position. Something I'm looking forward to. I know you and I were watching the top winner for Kimberly just a little while ago in the studio over there. So
yeah,
it could be a fun matchup in the top side. It's been a key point throughout the season, that top jungle matchup on all these teams. So I'm looking forward to that today.
Yeah, I think this is going to be another top jungle contested, just skill. It's like from when I was spectating the match that just happened, the jungler looked like they were dominating the enemy jungler, as well as the top laner just abusing the fact that he just knew more about wave management and trying to limit test as much as possible.
It's something that we see when you have higher rated players versus mid-level players like silver, gold, people who have played some competitive, like the ability to sort of control waves. It doesn't need to all be about kills. You don't need to just always go all in, but if you can hold a freeze, deny 4 or 5 waves, something like that, if you come out of lane 50 CS ahead, you're good, right? You can just kind of take that and run, and you don't even need to be up kills. You can have 0-0 scoreline, you're up 50 CS, and you totally won your lane. That's something that I think a lot of high-rated players just really excel at.
Yeah, one thing that I'm looking forward to is the junglers in terms of where they're pathing, whether they're going to be ganking more or farming more, because I know in the Wisconsin Lutheran game, the Hecarim that we saw wasn't ganking as much as, or they were ganking more than they should have been when nothing was happening. They should have been farming more.
They took ganking jungler to the max, and maybe they should have been going for the farm a little bit. We saw Mons. I just want to talk about him briefly. Extremely high-rated player, very, very strong. We saw him playing on the Kindred on the other stream earlier today. Looked incredible, dodging out of death many times. We called him dead. We caster cursed. We caster counter cursed. We did everything except predict correctly what was going to happen, which was sort of a fun thing. So I'm looking forward to kind of, will he continue that carry style? We saw him on 2 marksmen, Graves and then Kindred. We know those are, I think, his main champions. They sort of contemplated which one to ban. They banned one, opposite ones either game. Didn't work either time. Picked up the other and was totally fine. So where will those bans go? I think that's interesting. Both these teams, they've played today already, so maybe that's given some information away on this new patch. How are folks feeling about the bot lane? Where are those strong picks?
I'm definitely hoping to see champions like Sivir and Zeri come out.
Okay.
I believe those champions can utilize the new items very well. The new items like Static Shiv, and we got the new Mythics. I don't know a whole lot about the new Mythics because I haven't played a lot.
We got a whole collection of new Mythics for AD carries. I play AD carry. He plays top. So we've been discovering that we know virtually nothing about each other's roles. But the new AD carry Mythics, I think it's overall a quality change. I think you don't really have this double Mythic tree anymore where you're like, I have IE, I have Gale Force, but can I go Quick Blades versus IE? It's still sort of a lockout item choice. So Zeri, Ezreal, Jhin have been favoring these items very much. Stormrazor pretty strong on Jhin, sort of early mid-game items. A lot of AD carries peaking at that 1 to 3 item stage. Instead of trying to go super late, like a Stormrazor into an IE or something like that, and you do a ton of damage. So I think something like a Zeri fits the bill effectively on that, as we are now ready for the draft. And the first ban that we see is that Olaf. We wanted to see it. Looks like we might have to wait at least until game number 2 in this best of 3.
Yeah, Kimberly top lane was looking really strong with that Olaf pick. They were trying their hardest to decimate and tower dive and limit test, and they were doing really well doing so. They were an unstoppable force last game.
Yeah, against, I believe, Set in one of those games, which had sort of mixed results on the tower dive, trying to dive, ended up getting solo killed a couple of times, but sometimes you got to push the champ to the limit, right? If you want to go for broke, if you want to win the title, other champions being banned away. Not as much top lane focus as we saw previously, but there is the Kindred ban that we wanted to see. Wisconsin Lutheran, they did pick up the Graves.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting. He's just going to go for as much as he can early. He did it in the last series. He pathed top lane still, I believe. And was just playing for top lane objectives, getting that Rift Herald, being able to push a lead through Rift, and getting towers and tower platings.
Yeah, they broke the mid lane tower. Very strong usage of the Herald as well, breaking those last 2 plates, which you generally want to do if you can. Caitlyn on the other side, I mentioned only because Caitlyn's my one-trick champ. You play Ornn, I play Caitlyn. Big fan of the Sheriff built over. I think very, very strong overall. I think this patch, medium strong. I think you can play it well. Obviously, you have a lot of range. But going up against this double shield heal support lane, there we go. That's what they're called. It's one of the roles. You'd think I'd remember. But can't do it. The Seraphine and the Karma saw also earlier from Wisconsin Lutheran. So they are running back one of their semifinal team compositions right now. It looks like Kimberly just not afraid to let them have it again.
Yeah, we saw them do this, and what they did was they played safe. They made sure to just farm and scale. They abused the range and poke that they had against their lane. I'm glad that they picked Caitlyn first, because then they actually have the range to kind of like match the poke that Wisconsin Lutheran is going to bring out.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what kind of support they will go with to pair with the Caitlyn. Do you want to pick something like a Nautilus, like a Braum, like a Blitzcrank to try to actually fight this lane of Seraphine Karma and say, I have enough range, I can get some CC, put a trap down, something like the Leona? Or will they try to just counter it out with, another kind of support? I don't even need to ask that question because they picked the Leona. So already there, they're going to try to go for these kills, I would imagine. And that's a reasonably strong threat. If you can get the Caitlyn trap down, it's all about the headshots from the trap on Caitlyn. Leona stun, trap headshot. You can find those kills very quickly. Caitlyn has the range to do it, so I think they'll be looking to fight in this lane. To me, the Leona is a pick that says, I'm not going to just let myself get outscaled. I'm going to try to fight you in a way that the Draven Thresh earlier maybe didn't have as much success with.
Yeah, so we're looking for Wisconsin Lutheran to hopefully play the game a little bit back and safe so that they can just scale. But it looks like they picked a Nico Fiora, which is a lot about fighting. They have a strong top lane, they have a strong jungler and mid lane that can provide some more utility for the team. They have a lot of AP damage coming out from mid and bot, though.
Yes, they do. They have a reasonable mix of damage in the end. We saw earlier today, a little bit reliant on the physical damage from one of the sides. It's nice to see the mix. I'm noticing no real tank, no real bruiser of any kind on this team. Maybe the Graves is going to end up, sort of acting as a tank with all the shields on top of him. But a champion that I think could get blown up relatively quickly without that kind of front line in front of him. He's going to be forced to be sort of on the front line. He's the 180 carry again, maybe with Fiora. And I think this is a reasonably good game for Caitlyn. She doesn't do well against tanks for the most part. Akali, the assassin, too. So I think there's a lot of chances here with these picks that have been made to shut down this Graves, to shut down the rest of the team, because there just isn't that tankiness. There isn't that tanky front line.
Yeah, Kimberly decides to go with the Nasus top.
What are your thoughts?
I don't think that is the greatest pick into Fiora, but Fiora can possibly lose it if Fiora doesn't abuse the Nasus enough in lane. Nasus has the Wither, which can disrupt the Fiora Q and the E, making the E attack slower. It could like it's a very volatile matchup if Nasus makes it that way, because Nasus just has to free farm, and then once he gets Sheen, it's really just battle.
Sure. It seems like one of those situations where you need, as the Fiora, to punish in the first couple of minutes, first couple of levels before he's able to get, Sunder or whatever else he's building in the new time, since she does do well early with the vitals, etc. I'm also wondering if that's maybe somewhere you can try to gank as Lilia to try to get Nasus over the hump of those first couple levels, or do you want to just leave him on his own? How bad is this matchup the first 5 minutes?
The first 5 minutes, it's pretty Fiora central. What we want Lilia to do is to be able to keep the Graves from ganking top lane at all.
Sure.
I think if Lilia plays the counter gank, she can do it really well because of her bowling ball and being able to move fast with the Nasus Wither and then the Lilia movement speed. That pair can work really well together.
Sure. I'm gonna go fast. You're gonna go slow. Together, that makes gap closing pretty easy. I think I'm interested to see how well the Wither does later on in the game. A lot of times you want to use that against some, an AD carry if you get in the back line, slow down their attack speed. Not really an attack speed user on the team right now for Wisconsin Lutheran. Graves doesn't get slowed down by attack speed slows as much since he's on the 2 bullets in the chamber system with the shotgun. But it seems like it would be very detrimental to Fiora, just sort of slowing her down. The E is going to come out slower. You're overall not going to move as quickly.
Yeah, the combo is going to not be good.
Okay.
The combo's not fun as Fiora against Nasus later on in the game. I think Nasus should prioritize his Withers definitely on Fiora and Graves. Fiora has a lot of mobility. Graves can have a lot of mobility as well. Slowing down their attack speed means they have less damage output, and then it would...
That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get taken out. We haven't touched the mid lane at all. Nico, Akali. To me, not a lane where anyone's going to have immediate kill threat. They're both... Akali's going to farm up. Nico, I think, is probably safe enough not to get solo boloed at level 4. Maybe she'll just turn into the blue buff since she can do that now. Always fun. I think there's been a Nico almost every week since she's been reworked in the league, which is very fun. Any quick thoughts on the mid lane?
I would say that it's just going to be the default mage versus assassin matchup where...
try not to die.
Yeah, the mage is just going to poke out the assassin as much as possible. The assassin's going to have a rough time. The assassin roams, possibly gets a kill in a different lane, and then comes back and one-tricks one-shots the Nico.
Yeah, it definitely can happen. I'm interested to see how Nico is able to potentially survive better against an all-in with the new ultimate, since the knock-up comes sooner. You sort of get earlier CC. I think one thing that I've seen at least in the past with Nico is she's trying to ult, but she is up in the air ready to go with Pop Blossom, and she dies. And now you have, I think, maybe half a second, 3/4 of a second sooner CC on whoever's jumping onto you. Maybe that's a way you can stop the Akali ult too. For example, if she goes in, you press R, can you get the CC down and kill her first? So maybe a little bit better defensive now than she used to be. We'll have to wait and see. We're on the Rift.
All right, so we are starting. We are starting with Kimberly, Wisconsin Lutheran. Kimberly being on red side, Wisconsin Lutheran being on blue side. And we are probably looking to have just 5 stacks oh, that's not good.
You'd love to see it.
Leona no flash.
Yeah, they won't know that. So, also no Hex Flash, which I think is sort of standard, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong. Mon's maybe over the wall, though. Leafwing immediately going to run into trouble. Not the start they wanted. Might be the second flash lost, but they could flash to follow Hephaestus. Has the Q available. There's the flash from Mons as well. First blood picked up by Hephaestus. Not at all the start that Kimberly had in mind.
Yeah, they just didn't expect the Graves to be playing as aggressive. I mean, we saw this in the last series that the Wisconsin Lutheran played, but the Graves was just extremely aggressive early. Everybody jumps the wall and nobody expects it.
Sure. You mentioned that earlier. Always jump the wall. Watch for them jumping the wall. Starting E on the Graves. I think a nice bit of early preparation. They saw the Lilia and immediately over the wall. They said, we can find this kill. And indeed they could. Leafwing taken out. Fortunately for them, able to get back in time to their buff. So they're not going to be set behind time-wise. But obviously that first kill going over to Hephaestus, an extra longsword in lane, I imagine just going to make it that much harder for Ravenheart there on the Nasus to fight in this lane.
We see the triple teleport coming from Wisconsin Lutheran. We got teleport on Fiora, Nico, and Seraphine. The teleport bot lane means that even if they make a mistake, they probably won't lose too much off of it.
That does make sense to me. The triple TP could be quite strong. 2 flashes down. They don't know about Leona not having flash. It is, close to halfway back up, so at least they flash right at the start. That may not cause too much of a problem, but for Leafwing, just that much harder to gank. You don't have that ability to flash. should be up before the ultimate is available, so you're not going to have that problem, but just hurts your ganking potential ever so much. As we see some poke in the bot lane from these two mages. They seem to have practiced this comp before. They play it very well, as Splashba taking a load of damage. Skycode continuing, I think was trying to get in range for the Ignite. Wasn't quite able to use it. There is Cleanse as well on the side of Caitlyn to survive, but some early pressure here for Wisconsin Lutheran.
Yeah, like it's just a really rough lane to face. I mean, you may have the range as Caitlyn, but the Seraphine Karma lane just has a lot more sustain, especially since you, as a Caitlyn, don't have a support that can heal you or shield you, so you are infinitely losing out on any of that sustain.
Mons, we saw this. This is textbook Mons on Graves. Leafwing literally being run out of his own jungle at this point. The red buff was stolen away by the Graves, as trying to continue the performance we saw earlier. Now moving on to the Krugs. Theoretically could threaten a dive as well. Seems a bit earlier for that, but control over the jungle and adding some pressure here to the Kimberly side.
Yeah, that Lily is going to start. That Lily is going to start further and further behind. It's going to be a really rough game to get back into it, but I do like the fact that they have the Lily in the first place, because that means they can try to shred through those shields that the side of Wisconsin Lutheran has.
Absolutely. I like the sort of semi-gank in the mid lane. Just kidding. I was going to say top lane, but then we're looking at mid lane. Everything got confused, but it worked out in the end. I like the semi-gank at the top lane. You're not really trying to get a kill onto Ravenheart there. You're just trying to, push him back a little bit. Empress Hanny in all sorts of trouble. Sir Toby just kind of casually takes the kill. The tether was there.
Yeah, the no flash really didn't help him. The flash wasn't up in time. Of course, Wisconsin Lutheran doesn't know that he doesn't have flash.
Here comes Leafwing. Sir Toby. They saw him in the ward. They decide not to back off immediately, but they do so now. I think they should be fine. Again, no flash on the Lilia, and no sleep either. So just a few spells thrown at them, and nothing more. Festus maybe going for the all-in. Ravenheart could be in some trouble here. Grasp proc plus the Vital. Not quite able to proc that. Ravenheart takes some damage, but walks away with their life.
That's exactly what I was mentioning earlier. That, I don't know if you saw that, but that Wither made it really hard for that Fiora to chase the Nasus. The Nasus can play the lanes as safe as he wants. Fiora can try to play as aggressive as she wants, but in the end, Nasus just gets out easily just because of that Wither.
No, it's an amazingly strong spell that I haven't seen in a while. See it again there, and yeah, that's a lot of slow going on. She basically just got stuck. Nasus just walks off. Especially if he has Ghost on as well, it should be a reasonably safe lane for him. But down in the CS department, quite a lot. A couple of cloth armors to try to stay alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm hoping that becomes a Bramble, so that when Fiora inevitably gets the lifesteal, he will be able to contest as much as possible.
Countering out that lifesteal, countering some of the healing away with the grievous wounds and the return damage of your own. Tak doing well against Old Croc, but very low on mana. Old Croc not super healthy in the health or energy department themselves, so a low resource situation in the mid lane right now. Could be ripe for ganks if anyone comes in the near future, as there's another example of that Wither. Festus, though, is now level 6 against level 4, decides not to issue the ground challenge, which I think was the correct decision, keeping themselves alive for now. Old Croc, though, I'm looking for an all-in here, potentially, as the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, Akali is taking a lot of damage. She's not respecting the Nico at all. I think the Akali needs to be more willing to give up more CS to be able to stay in the lane. Otherwise, something like this will happen where, she either inevitably loses CS and then just dies under tower, or...
Going for the dive. Old Croc, the Q, maybe would find the kill. Mons takes a good amount of damage there. Now you've got to get out of there. Swirl Seed comes down the lane as well. Look out for that. You don't want to get caught under the tower. With that, Hephaestus taking the tower shot due to the Wither. Walks themselves out to safety, but that easily could have been a kill on the Akali in the mid lane. I think lucky to live.
Yeah, I think, I even mentioned it earlier, Lilia's bowling ball,
Splash,
is always just pressure.
Yeah, fight time. Cleanse used early. Ignite would still be on it. Just came up. Splash from very low. Sir Toby finds that kill. We flip up to the top lane. Ravenheart in some trouble. We're back down to the bot lane. Directed camera giving us the runaround. Sir Toby, Leafwing is right there. You've got to fear the deer. We might be in Kenosha. We're pretty close to the Bucks. Always fear the deer. Double root comes out. A double root from Sir Toby. Leafwing maybe going to get returned upon. There's the root. Sir Toby, does he have the spells to flash away from the Lilia? Leona goes back in to try to defend his teammates. Swirl Seed lands onto the Seraphine. Double Q is flashed away from by Empress Hanny as a teleport in the top lane from Old Croc will bail out his top laner, but leaving that mid lane undefended.
Yeah, that was a really rough fight. The Caitlyn just wasn't respecting them, died, and then the Lilia, the snowball almost made it work. Or a snowball, bowling ball, I call it. That slow almost made it so that she got the kill, but forcing out the summoners is always a great thing.
Talk has some friends, though. The Pop Blossom, there's the stun. Down to about 40% is Old Croc. Akali doesn't have the ultimate 2 to get out since hasn't casted it yet. And the Aerie will pick that up. Skycode, a lot of damage coming out of this Karma so far. They find the kill.
Yeah, no vision in the river at all. That Akali had zero clue that Karma was coming. We definitely want to see more vision coming from the side of Kimberly. Wisconsin Lutheran, as you can see, they have vision all over the top side of the map, as well as a control ward where they made the play in the bottom side, or bottom middle, right in the river there.
Yes, indeed. Karma walked all the way up. Some nice vision being placed. They see Splashba. Bit of poke. Trying to put the trap down for some vision. Got to get those wards down in the river to be able to see. The support walked all the way up to mid lane, and you didn't know something is wrong with your vision line.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can recover from that, but 4,000 gold to the negative right now, as maybe the all-in in the mid lane. There's perfect execution. Activation number 1, activation number 2. The Q goes just a little bit wide. Old Croc almost able to find a return kill, but not quite.
Trying to make use of the fact that Nico doesn't have R.
Yep.
But still wasn't able to get the kill. Wasn't sure where Nico went because of Nico's W, especially now that you can control it easily.
Absolutely. Mons in the mid lane. I think just sort of a nuisance gank. Like Q almost landed though, actually. Maybe would have been able to find the kill. It is the Bramble Vest, like you wanted to see in the top lane. And even though Nasus is down so much CS, doesn't matter. Tell a lie. There's fights everywhere. We don't have time for stories. Splash buff flashing away. Old Croc very lucky to be alive in the mid lane. Collateral damage went just a hair wide. No kills, but everybody's feeling a little bit scared.
Yeah, we see Lilia taking Rift Herald in the top lane. We like to see some contest in the top lane. On the side of Kimberly, the entire bot side is warded for Wisconsin Lutheran. You would think that they would try to make a play towards Dragon at some point here, but instead they opt towards getting plates mid, and that puts some more gold in Graves' pocket as well as Nico's pockets.
Yeah, I think maybe just saying we're not going to put quite as high a priority on the Dragon this game. Maybe we're not feeling like we're going to get to Soul. We feel like we're going to try to win or, you know, have a concluded game state before we get to 4 Dragons from now. It is already 10 minutes. We'd rather get those couple of plates in the mid lane. Maybe try to break that later. They don't have the Herald, but just a little bit less priority on Dragon I think is acceptable in this game state. Just saying we don't really need that to win. We don't see Soul as our win con.
Yeah, especially with Mons, a player like that, he wants as much gold as possible, as soon as possible. He likes dominating the early game and abusing his lead and extending his lead into the late game. He's a really good player when it comes to that.
Yes, we've seen that time in and time out today. Especially Old Croc goes in, but the Pop Blossom is right there. You're just going to get stunned up. That gives away where you are as well. Electrocute does proc. The auto attack finds the kill. Tak picking up another kill, 5-0 thus far.
You definitely don't want to be rushing in a situation like that, especially because, I mean, we've talked earlier about how important waves are. Because of that, Akali misses 2 waves, just like that. And then in the bot lane here,
Splashba could be in some trouble. The trap doesn't quite connect. There's the cleanse, but you're still going to get rooted. The Q lands as well. Very, very low on the Karma. One more auto attack would be enough. Splashba not able to find that. Gets taken out. Sir Toby picking up that kill. Seraphine, maybe you're going to want to turn around. Swirl Seed is not able to find the connection onto Skycode. He will turn his attention onto Sir Toby. Seraphine now running for the hills. Ultimate is not available. The flash certainly is. Taking a nap. He's saying, I'm not tired. I don't want to go to sleep. Gets woken up by the Leona. E in the face, but Empress Handy not quite able to find the kill. Tak has now arrived, and Leona is going to be going back to base in a body bag as we see the mid lane. A solo kill as well picked up by Mons there. The Herald looking towards the bot lane. Sir Toby burning down the flash forward. Shutdown picked up by Leafling. Able to find that flip up to the top lane. Ravenheart being dove into the tower. Leafling back to the bot lane. Tak in a 1 versus 1 on that situation. The Herald did get the charge off. A lot of action across the map.
Yeah, the sustain from Seraphine and Karma were just too much for them to deal with. It's too early in the game to try to burst through that, especially when, you know, Seraphine has 4 kills, plenty of gold, plenty of levels. There's plenty of items to be able to buff up her shields, as well as Karma having the Vandal Glass.
We were both sort of skeptical of this double support lane earlier on today when we first saw it. You know, excited about the new AD carry changes. Didn't see those coming through. We're going to have to, I think, hold that story short because it's going to take a lot longer than we have. Ravenheart teleports back in. Mons takes some tower aggro, throws in the Q. Turns out this is a reasonably tanky Nasus. They seem a little bit unsure. Now they do start to commit to the dive. Festus taking some damage. Collateral damage, and the Q comes out. Mons finding the kill. The burst is there with the Ghostblade as he teleported in straight to his death. We talked about waves. That is not a good place to be in.
Yeah, he just juggled the tower. He juggled the tower aggro very well. He played for his ultimate. He played for his Q.
Got ulted. He also missed the Pot Blossom, so everybody has sort of missed most of their skill shots thus far. There's the root in onto Old Croc. One more auto attack, but it's not enough. The Akali able to take the kill. Very, very close fight, but he picks it up.
Yeah, the 0-3 Akali manages to grab a kill. Now that should put some gold in her pocket, be able to get a little bit of a catch-up happening as we see Lilia take the dragon. So that's an overall a plus for the side of Kimberly as they try to hold their own.
Absolutely get a little bit of gold in the back pocket. The dragon as well starting to slowly try to reel this game back in. See what Akali is able to continue to do. The Pot Blossom did miss from Talk. A nice dodge out by Old Croc. That is something that I think is going to be necessary if you want to repeat that feat of that solo kill. But Akali, a little bit of gold. If you get a few items, the Nico's not really getting any tankier, and that one-shot combo from Akali could come through. So looking to see if she's able to start pulling it back for her team. Lilia also first item completed. Stormrazor now on Caitlyn. So these item completions are coming in. Interested to see if Kimberly is able to translate that into any sort of comeback, any sort of kills. As we see maybe something here in the top lane, but this World Speed goes a little bit wide.
Oh, but Fiora misses the Q. That goes on cooldown for a bit.
She wants to take the 1 versus 2, or at least she's willing to take the 1 versus 2, it looks like, by dashing back in there. And I'm actually a little bit surprised to see Kimberly say we don't want that fight. I guess there's riposte, maybe, to block away the sleep, and you don't really want to take the 1 versus 2. She is level 11. She has ultimate. Speaking of level 11, Mons is here, then flashing forward, gets exhausted. Everything sort of misses. A nice flash from Splashba. They're fine.
Yeah, Fiora is looking for that fight because of the Divine Sunder. That's probably another reason as to why they were so afraid to take that 2v1 in the first place.
Ultimate goes a little bit wide for Seraphine. A lot of skill shots going just wide here in the bot lane in the last couple of seconds. Grand Challenge has been issued, but Old Croc is here. Hephaestus in a 1 versus 2 situation. Ghost procced from Ravenheart, but he's down 2 levels. Hephaestus says 2 can play at that game. I'm just going to get myself out of here. Teleport is being channeled by the Nico. She'll be there relatively quickly. Bail out her top laner. Mons continuing to steal buffs away as the tower goes down in the bot lane as well. But Leafwing maybe tried to take that fight. Maybe they should not have. Asleep goes Mons, but woken up immediately by the burn. Killing spree for the Graves. 3-0. Bit of a bush bait. That's not Hephaestus. Maybe it is Hephaestus. One of them is. One of them's not. I don't know what this champion does anymore, but it's clear it was confusing for Ravenheart as well. Hephaestus finds the kill.
Yeah, that champion is looking a little strong here. I'm glad to see that Fiora is doing well, though. She's got the Divine Sunder, as I said earlier. Graves with the Collector now. That's been doing a lot of damage.
That's a lot of farm on the Graves. A lot of farm, a lot of kills. I'm sure he is by far the wealthiest person in the game, I would imagine. The most farm and close to the most kills on the team. Been part of. He took the mid lane tower all by himself, the first tower. Extremely wealthy on this Graves, doing a ton of damage. Second tier top lane tower maybe falling as well. Those towers give the most gold in the game if you can pick them up. So a lot to play for here. Wisconsin Lutheran looking very, very strong.
Yeah, Wisconsin Lutheran also picking up more vision in the bot side while that's happening top side because they know they have the pressure. They know they have the prio top side. So now they are going for Rift Herald, which I'm assuming just won't be contested just because they are so ahead early. I believe 10k gold already.
Yeah, 10,000 gold. That is a very impressive gold lead, especially against, not against, but in the grand finals, right? You're playing against the #1 seed and you have a 10,000 gold lead. at 17 minutes. Herald, definitely not an objective that you want to die over, especially second Herald. Doesn't really matter. You don't need to fight over that. Dragon's also not going to be a problem for Kimberly, so there are some positives for them, but also quite a lot of negatives. The 10,000 gold lead, chief among them.
Yeah, Kimberly needs to really play towards their vision and to try to have more than one member up when fighting Graves.
But the whole team is coming up. This is about to be quite a fight, I would imagine. The flash, the pot blossom, the ultimate comes through. The bot lane is just getting decimated for Kimberly. The AD carry's taken out. Empress Handy going to fall at the same time a few seconds later, but the result is the same nonetheless. Skycode throwing out more spells, but a pretty clean 2-4-0. Nice pick there by Wisconsin Lutheran.
Yeah, and Nico played that combo really well, ulting and flashing.
Mons is in the base, not to make too fine a point of it. Ultimate goes down, gets put to sleep, and is just going to get woken up by the Graves. Mons, will they win this fight? Not too sure if the Q can go off. And one more auto attack. Double kill for Mons. Make that 4-0 in that extended play.
Nasus doesn't have a mythic. He just shouldn't have gone for that in the first place. You got to understand, Graves had 2 items at the time, maybe 2.5, and Nasus doesn't even have a completed first item except for his Lucidity boots. You can't be taking that fight. You kind of just have to give and respect.
Absolutely. 6-0 on this Graves. A commanding performance. Yet again, maybe it's time that you ban out the Graves and the Kindred in the same game. You never know. It might have to happen because the Kindred got banned out. That's the top choice. What do you do going forward? Because right now, Mons has been completely carrying in all of the games we've seen today.
They just need a big Lilia engage. That's all they need. They need a big Lilia engage or a big Leona engage. Someone with big AoE CC that can stop their Graves from going into their backline and doing a lot of damage.
The only thing we've seen stop Mons so far is AoE CC. 2 auto attacks. Takes out Splash Buff. Blink and you miss it. Herald spawn in the mid lane as well. Mons maybe looking to push more. Well, the other Mons, fake Mons, is on the Dragon. The real Graves here. Hitting the tower. I don't think that'll quite kill the tower. Tell a lie. It will. Nice dodge away on this Whirl Seed. I like to sort of jiggle back and forth like he was thinking about 1v4, and then backs away.
Yeah, the Wisconsin Lutherans just playing this really well. They're making Graves, the biggest threat, cause a distraction in the mid lane while they make another play across the map. Nico's playing a Scuttle Crab running through their jungle. They have no clue what's going on.
Look at Leaf Wing. 983 damage crit from the Graves. All the bullets connecting as Mons now maybe in a little bit of trouble, but I would hesitate to say that even because every time I say that he survives by a hair down to half HP. The fight will continue. Pop Blossom onto Splash with AD carry taken out straight away. Empress Handy in the backline of Leona trying to buy a little bit of time for their team. Talk able to kite away from Old Croc as Hanny is taken out. Double kill now picked up for Mons. Old Croc on the fall, make that the 4th kill of the fight as it's just Ravenheart to defend maybe the jungler up in a couple of seconds, but this could be your game-ending push. They look to move on towards the Nexus Tower, 1 member down toward the inhibitor turret, but they say no, let's go for the end. Ravenheart pops the ultimate, try to stay alive for a little bit longer, but it will not be enough. Legendary now is Mons. Leafwing the only member to defend, and there is just nothing that they can do. The Caitlyn will spawn and maybe just die on the fountain or run off to die. Look at the damage. Mons just not taking any damage. The Nexus will go down. It's Wisconsin Lutheran, 1 game away from a state title.
Yeah, Kimberly just fell apart. It didn't look like they had a proper game plan at the start of the game, and whatever plan they did have, they just did not execute it well.
Thrown into disarray, I would say, pretty much from the word go. We had the accidental flash in base, followed by the very early first blood. Graves just coming over the wall. You lose the flash on Lilia. You're down a kill. Everything's just not going well at that point, and I think it just kind of fell apart from there. Mons starting out with the lead. The extra longsword on Hephaestus certainly not helping if you're the Nasus in the lane. Nothing really went well for Kimberly in that game. They just got off. They were on the back foot immediately, and they never got off of it.
Yeah, I think Kimberly started this game a thought process behind because maybe they weren't sure how they lost a game off of the team prior. And maybe because of that, their mental was just not in the right place for this game. And because of that, they ended up losing their 2nd round loss now, I believe.
Their 2nd defeat this season. I think now is the time. It is the best of 3, right? The championship's not over. You can certainly get back into this one. Take the time you have between game, regroup with the coach, take a deep breath. We got this. Go back to the draft, figure out what went wrong. Do we need to ban the Graves away? What do we want to do now? And come back into game 2 with a fresh mental, right? You've lost a couple of games. That's not a crime, right? It's not a crime to get knocked down, but it is to not get back up. So looking forward to Kimberly sort of rebounding in the next game. I personally would ban the Graves and the Kindred.
Yeah, banning the Graves and the Kindred definitely. Definitely.
I think you have to do it.
Yeah, it's the best idea, I believe, to do, because I mean, I don't know if they've seen Wisconsin Lutherans games at all, but
they have now.
Their juggler has been extremely good in every game that I've seen him play. At least, all 3 games that I've seen him play.
Yeah, it has been an extremely impressive performance so far from Wisconsin Lutheran. They are up 1-0 over Kimberly in the grand finals. Wisconsin State Esports Championship, 1 game away from hoisting that trophy, which I don't think exists, but hoisting the trophy in their hearts, and that's what matters. We're going to take a short break as we get set for game number 2 in this series. We will be back shortly with the draft. Don't go away.
Talk is overrated, never in the conversation. Drunk in love, but I don't know what to say. If you could see me now, you'd understand my frustration. Let's face it, I don't need your pity, love. Guess that means I'm not enough. Oh, now I know I'm not in love, not in love. I don't need your pity, love. Oh, I don't need your pity, love. Guess that means I'm not enough. Oh, now I know I'm not in love, not in love. I don't need your pity, love. Oh, I don't need your love. Oh, oh. I don't need your love. Oh, oh. I don't need your love. Oh, oh. I don't need you. Oh, yeah. Broke my heart. I said it's all my fault. I was so down for so long, but now you're gone. You wanna stay friends, don't have that kind of patience. I'm wasting my time, you have me losing my mind. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. Oh, told you I could do this on my own. I don't need you anymore. I don't need your pity, love. Guess that means I'm not enough. Oh, now I know I'm not in love, not in love. I don't need your pity, love. Oh, I don't need your pity, love. Guess that means I'm not enough. Oh, now I know I'm not in love, not in love. I don't need your pity, love. Oh.
Alrighty, welcome back. Welcome back to the grand finals. This is game 2. Wisconsin Lutheran took game 1, and here we are. We mentioned this earlier. We were hoping to see the Kindred Graves band, and we only see the Kindred band.
Yes, indeed. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jarl Karl. It's Yakovich, also known as Hunter from earlier. We're back. Zeri picked up, which you wanted to see. So we've seen a lot of exciting things come through. I'm very surprised that the Graves has been given over. They're on the same sides, as you can likely tell. Mons still going to be on the blue side with Wisconsin Lutheran up against Kimberly on the red side. A relatively similar draft so far. Lilia against Graves. I guess they were happy with that matchup. They've swapped out the AD carry from Caitlyn to Zeri, but otherwise the draft progressing reasonably similarly. Looks like we're not going to have the double support combo. This time the Pike has been picked up instead since the Karma was banned out.
Yeah, Pike picked up. That's a completely different play style than they were playing before. But we have the same mirror matchup jungle, same matchup in the mid lane. We have the Nico Akali again. I mean, the Akali wasn't doing terrible, but I mean the Nico had so much utility. They had no clue how to counter that.
Yeah, indeed. I'm personally a little bit surprised to see Kimberly running the draft back so similarly to the last game. I think the Akali-Nico matchup didn't go great. Akali started out 0-3. The jungle matchup, maybe they're just chalking that up to that level 1 kill. So I think it's reasonable to run back the same comp and say, we got killed level 1. We still feel good about it. These are our best picks. But I'm a little bit surprised not to see really any adaptation. I think the Zeri instead of Caitlyn is a little bit different, and they're kind of changing up the bot lane mostly and leaving the rest of the map the same. Maybe that's where they feel that they have the best chance for some sort of advantage to try to push the game in their favor while leaving the jungle matchup the same.
Yeah, they want to have the hyper carry, hyper scaling Zeri. They have the Seraphine in the support lane, support role.
Yep.
And looks like we got Jin picked up for Wisconsin Lutheran. Jin, as you've said earlier, can use these new items really well.
Yeah, the main boost to him, the Storm Razor, giving personal movement speed instead of a slow, really benefits Jin. Obviously, movement speed is great on that champion. A lot of physical damage coming through thus far, and I'm a little bit worried about that, especially if Talk doesn't get going. But again, no real tank on the side of Kimberly, so I sort of defeat my own point. There's the Volibear. Could be a little bit tanky, but it is mostly physical damage except for this Nico.
You see, we say no real tank. We don't have the sustain from the bot lane as we did earlier. We don't have the Seraphine Karma on the side of Wisconsin Lutheran, so Graves might be in a bit more danger when frontlining in team fights. But we do see the Aurelia picked up, which tends to be a solo queue champion. Could be just a blind comfort pick, but because of that, we have the Volibear picked up on Kimberly's side, and Volibear does really well into Aurelia.
Okay.
Volibear can have more sustain and stop Aurelia in the middle of her combos.
Sure. That makes sense to me. I'm excited to see that as very strident change up in the top lane. 2 completely new champions, a little bit different play styles. Looking forward to seeing that sort of go down. I'm curious to see if Mons will miss that shielding. Both games that they've played on Graves today, it has been the Seraphine and the Karma combo. This time, none of that. You don't have a shield. You're not getting any help from your team. And going from having 2 supports, basically throwing everything they have on you the whole game, to having no supports at all, maybe Mons will get a little bit over-aggressive. It's possible that they'll end up trying to do a little bit too much, thinking they have that safety and getting taken out. Since there is a reasonable amount of CC, you can get put to sleep. Volibear can stun you. Seraphine could root. There's a lot of options here that you could get picked off.
Yeah, somehow it feels like their comp almost has the same identity, though, just because Jin and Pike kind of like to, run around and try to deal as much damage to them as possible. Nico, it just seems like they were in the same draft, just different champions.
Yeah, you sort of, it's not all in the Graves, right? It used to be the Graves plus the shields. Now it's the Graves, but hey, there's also a Pike in the backline, and there's also Jin bullets coming through. So a similar, but at the same time, a little bit different kind of style. Excited, honestly, to see Sir Toby and Skycode play on non-supports for the most part. We've only seen one sort of traditional game from them thus far. Looking forward to that more normal bot lane matchup. Excited to see that. I'm always a big fan of the kind of AD carry support, 2v2, play a lane. But so far, love the style from Wisconsin Lutheran. It seems like the Vikings are putting together team comps where they can just try to poke, try to ask questions, right? The Graves trying to invade, steal away a buff, see if you're there. I'm going to try to find an early kill, and I think the Pyke can do similarly, right? Roam up to the mid lane. We saw that last game. No vision. The Karma walked all the way up the mid lane. If you do that on a Pyke, that can be very, very scary very quickly.
Yeah, and then I want to touch base on Kimberly's bot lane. They have the Zeri Seraphine, which means that they have the sustain on their team as well, which might help against the Graves damage, but now they have the Pyke execute, which goes through shields.
It does.
So it's going to be a little rough. I'm assuming Seraphine's going to be prioritizing the heal and shield buffs rather than the damage like we've seen in the past.
Gotta throw out some help for your team, especially if the Graves is that strong. But that little bit of shielding, especially early on, if you throw in the double Seraphine shield, etc., you can block an auto and a half, block an ability from Graves, and it really can help you escape. And so we've really seen that sustain shift sides from the blue team to the red team, as Kimberly finally going to have a few more tools, I think, in their pocket, whereas Wisconsin Lutheran maybe not quite as able to just throw the shield on the Graves and say, off you go.
Yeah, all right. Well, we are going to take a quick break, and we will see you in just a moment.
Welcome back, everybody. We're on to the Rift for game number 2. Some pings are going down to the mid lane, so we're going to keep the introduction brief. Maybe we're going to have some sort of invade. This is always fun. Level 1 preparation. They said, hey, it worked out so well last time. We're going to do it again. What do you think?
Yeah, this time they have a pull. They have Pyke and then Nico playing as Pyke. I mean, they will have no clue who is who until one of them starts charging their pull. But it looks like they're just going to give respect to that fact and just giving them the vision that they want and then letting them reset. Hopefully, this is kind of an abnormal play. I haven't seen this where they just sit in the bush and hope to catch somebody off guard. I don't see many people traversing through those neck of the woods.
I don't either. This is a first for me, at least in a long time. I'm not totally sold on this idea. Maybe they're going to try to steal the blue buff. I guess that's the idea. But you will be spotted out in doing so. They don't know that word's there. So they may think that this is secret, but it is, in fact, not. So maybe Leafwing can do some kind of vertical jungling, invade the blue buff in return. That is the play here. They will be on vision.
Aurelia did place a ward on their own blue buff, so they will see if Lilia decides to counter jungle. Right now, we got Nico playing his Graves in the mid lane. You never know.
It could be. I feel like if you're old Croc, you're like, okay, I just need to hit this person. I just need to know. It's not actually Graves, right? And in fact, it is not. Hephaestus not having a great time early. You mentioned that matchup. Obviously, none of those, mechanics of their abilities going head-to-head, but pops the shield, just kind of gets a few hits onto the Fiora.
Yeah, level 1, level 2 is... The Irelia against Volibear is really tough because Volibear goes Q level 2, E level 1. You have that sustain on Volibear as well as his passive with his electricity damage.
The lightning. Gotta throw that in there. W goes a little bit wide. We saw Mons sort of do a transition gank in the mid lane. A nice dodge away from Old Croc, so keeping themselves safe as the kind of weird antics from Mons, the sort of cheese, invade early gank strategy this game has not worked, but we saw this exact same play in the last game, except they were at level 3. Looks like we're going to stay in the top lane for now. Raven could be in some trouble. A nice W channel from Hephaestus. Do they have the dash forward? Yes, they do. But half the HP remaining on the Volibear. Looks like Mons did steal away the red buff. Now going to try to go for a 1 versus 2, but his mid lane is on the way. Mons down to about half HP, but 30% for Leafwing. Lilia forced to disengage from that play. Another red buff stolen successfully by Mons.
He's just so confident in his style of play. He's done this every single game that we've seen now. He just knows he can do it. He probably understands the early game damage or early game strength of Lilia as well as his own champion. Yeah. So he just doesn't have an issue with doing this.
Smite across. We've been reduced to half speed, which is very fun. Leafwing running away at the speed of sound. Flash over the wall. Mons, one more auto should be enough. The Q, not there. First blood picked up by Graves.
That was really unfortunate.
It was. But
Lilia tried running away, but Graves has a dash as well as a flash.
Yeah, and he has a flash, you have a flash, but he also has the dash. Like you said, back in the bot lane, Skycode taking a lot of damage very quickly. Exhaust is down onto the Pike, who's flashing away. Cleanse for Splashba. Let himself move, but they're on the trap from Jhin. They actually get hit by that Sir Toby. Some more bullets in the chamber. Will they flash forward? One more auto. Will probably not be enough. You need the Q as well. Do they have the ability to get it off? Yes, they do. Sir Toby with the flash onto Splashba. Taken down.
Okay, we are still in halftime speed.
Hey, I'm digging it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to cast, especially for me. But I mean, there's nothing really a whole lot going on. We got Volibear shoving the top lane. He's got a pretty big wave. Aurelia really likes it when there's more minions in the wave.
Sure. The stack on stun goes down onto Ravenheart. Conqueror is fully procced, but Ravenheart just doing so much damage. Aurelia forced to back off from that situation.
With that Volibear W passive, he does a lot more on hit damage as soon as he hits it on the same champion.
Yeah, he was chunking out that Aurelia in a big way. Hephaestus forced to go back to base, using the teleport to get back to lane. I think a very successful lane so far. I think they finally found a champion matchup that works, and Graves and Lilia have not been in that top lane. It's sort of just been that island, and it looks like you're quite correct. Volibear doing very well.
Yeah, and then when it comes to the 2v2, I believe that Kimberly has the advantage, because they have the CC coming out from Volibear, and then Volibear just has a lot of damage, and then Lilia has the movement speed to be able to not get hit by the Aurelia.
Skycode looking for old Croc. Q doesn't want to go for it.
He dashed forward and then clicked Q to hopefully get the slow.
Okay, my mistake. Missed that one. That makes more sense than just, I don't want to. Not going to do it. Leafwing in the top lane, though. Hephaestus seems to have just noticed. There's the Q dashing through. Still has the flash to get out, maybe away from a Ravenheart stun, get away from the lightning, able to dodge out from that one. Just walks out.
Yeah, just not enough damage. They weren't able to. The Volibear was just way too far out of range. Wasn't willing to commit his flash, probably because they knew that Aurelia still had her flash. But here we got a fight in the bot lane. A bit of poke coming out.
I was expecting a little bit more of a fight, to be honest. I feel a little bit let down by the players right now. I must say, Ravenheart and Hephaestus, you'll never believe it, hitting each other yet again. Ultimate's now available, and I think we may see our first solo kill at some point soon in this lane. They're both at about half HP. They both have ultimate. That just seems like at some point they're actually going to go for a fight.
Yeah, if they're both at half HP, Volibear will have the advantage because Volibear's ult even gives himself healing.
Leafwing taken out yet again. Mons finds another kill. We mentioned the confidence ignite on Old Croc. The flash away, flash to follow, but it's not enough. Old Croc goes down. Tak picking up the kill. That was very nicely played.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Croc was thinking going back in. Maybe they forgot that Nico didn't have Ignite Nico had Ignite because last game Nico went teleport. So they went the triple teleport. So now Nico has Ignite, gives her solo kill potential, solo kill pressure, and Akali just didn't respect that.
Starting up the Dragon are Wisconsin Lutheran. Looking very strong. Again, you mentioned, I was going to say before we had that fight, Mons, this is the confidence in this game. Always going for every play. Always trying to catch somebody out, asking little questions to get big rewards in the end, and sitting very pretty, 2-0. They pick up the first Dragon for themselves. Wisconsin Lutheran, I think, poised to continue to snowball this advantage as I potentially foresee a bot lane dive at some point here in the future.
I think Lilia just needs to play towards one side of the map. Staying too long on another side of the map is just not that. It's not helping the team much.
Not super sure what we just saw there. Old Croc very low. Not entirely sure why they got so close to the tower. Didn't quite see, but forced to use the flash to get out of that situation. Sir Toby gets rooted up. Will take a little bit of damage, but Mon's here, so no real threat. Pike maybe going to try to go for the Bone Skewer instead. It grabs the creep, minion delivery system, and I think they will leave it there for now, although Mons may continue to pressure this.
Volibear's got a wave pushing in top lane as well. Lilia is taking camps in their jungle. We might see a possible dive, especially with Volibear R.
You definitely could. Turning off that tower. There's the ultimate, though, from Irelia. Gen ult in the bot lane, but it looks like that show got canceled quite quickly. Splash buff flashing away from the stun of Skycode, who's now running away in the wrong direction from his base, but it looks like they will not try to follow that one too much. Somehow, this Pike gets out.
See, that's what I was talking about with the Seraphine. Now that Zeri has that support with the sustain,
yep.
Zeri just wasn't allowed to die there. That they weren't able to dive just because of the Seraphine heals and shields.
This time there's a ward. There was a ward in the pixel bush in the river. It saw Skycode, and Croc turned around as soon as Pike came on the screen. That's what that vision control will do for you. You're like, hey, I shouldn't be here right now. Splash, but probably going, hey, this is kind of nice. I can stay alive.
Lilia took all of that time to take all of Graves' topside jungle, as well as she's taking Herald now. This is a really great play. I'm hoping that she takes this top lane just to give Volibear just a little bit more of a lead,
sure,
so that Volibear can shut down this Irelia as soon as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe try to go for some kind of dive as well, right? Those two ultimates synergize pretty well. You can turn the tower off, gap close, and put her to sleep at the same time. And I think, that you can maybe even take the whole tower in one fell swoop. Talk maybe in a little bit of trouble if they get put to sleep. It looks like they were successfully able to just walk away. Ravenark gets stunned. Lightning comes down. Festus and his counterpart going at it toe-to-toe. Both taking a little bit of damage, but it is sort of a sustained fight. That's a lot of damage on hit. As Ravenheart says, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah, Aurelia's autoing minions, queuing minions in the middle of the combo.
Oopsie.
They look really confident in their Aurelia play.
Yep.
So that's always good to see. Not good to see as Volibear decides to use his E in lane, which means he's out of mana now.
I was just going to say that. Very, very low mana Skycode dodging away on the bot lane from the Seraphine E. I think everyone down there is going to be okay, but it is only 2 tower plates remaining for Talk here to take down in the mid lane as Old Croc losing some of their tower.
See, just the Volibear is TPing top lane. Aurelia has a big wave underneath the tower. I'm wondering if Aurelia will soon have enough gold for Bork, because Bork does really well shredding Volibear. Volibear won't be able to survive.
I don't think he tried to go that way. I'm pretty sure Cleanse from Splash buff. I think cleansing the slow. Talk, I don't know if he was a minion. Was he the red buff? I have no idea what's happening, but Talk is over there chasing Leafwing. Ravenheart coming down as this Nico is on the wrong side of where they want to be. No flash available. The ultimate is there. The E might be there soon. Dodge the Swirl Seed. That's the first part. The flash forward from the Lilia, but she might get taken out. Misses the Q, actually. Leafwing very, very low. One more auto attack might be enough. The Ignite burning down, but it isn't quite there. From Skycode, the ultimate will find the execute as the fight will continue. Irelia has teleported in, as has the top lane Volibear. They are both here, but Mons on a killing spree finds that one with the help of the Pike as just a little bit better there for Wisconsin Lutheran, but it might not be over. Volibear tries to go back in for a little bit more. Not quite able to find the kill. Can they get out with their life? Mons keeping themselves alive, keeping everybody alive for now, but 2 for 1.
Yeah, it kind of sucks just seeing Kimberly not do anything else on the other side of the map, because, I mean, Seraph and Zeri were bot side the entire time, but they weren't shoving out. They weren't doing anything. They were just letting that play happen while not being able to get anything on any other side of the map. So that was overall just really good for Wisconsin Lutheran.
And the Herald dropped in the jungle. I think they had time left on that. If I remember correctly, that was picked up a little bit before the 10-minute mark. So I think they had a couple more minutes on that, but maybe just trying to get it to crash in the bot lane. To your point, though, if you see everybody else in the enemy team, in the mid lane in a fight like that, it's often better to just push, take, 3 or 4 plates than it is to try to run up and help. But there's the ultimate from Splash, but trying to fight out against Sir Toby, doing a reasonably good job of it as well. There's the Herald, the charge, but nobody got the money from that, I don't think.
Yeah, only Lilia got the money from that one, because whoever summons Herald gets the money for whatever plates are taken from it.
Done a remarkably good job at dodging away from everything. I don't think it's going to be enough in the end, though. Skycode has the ultimate, able to secure that and share some gold with their jungler. With some pretty nice fancy feet.
Yeah, with that fancy feet, he was forcing the flash out of Pyke and Graves to kill.
Great point.
So that was overall, you know, dying is not the greatest, but those are two big sums that are gone on the side of Wisconsin Lutheran.
As Lilia says, how can I tiptoe if I haven't got any toes? She was doing the fancy feet. I don't know if it was tiptoes or not, but some pretty nice dodges forcing those summoners out. Dragon now on the map as well. Could be the second of the game for Wisconsin Lutheran if they decide to pick that up. But they may, yet again, sort of leave that till last and just get more gold on the Graves. Say, we don't even need that soul.
So let's talk items. We see it.
Let's talk this fight in the mid lane. Potentially, Old Krog teleporting in and immediately goes, let's go. I am ready. And it looks like they were ready. They find the kill. Inotok flashing away, trying to make this a grand old outplay. Almost able to dodge behind that minion, but 1 for 1 in the mid lane. Let's talk about items.
All right, now, before I was so rudely interrupted by them deciding to take a fight, I see the Trinity Force on Zeri. What do you think of that?
This is like a fun, like 63% win rate thing that has like a 3% play rate. It's one of those items. It's in the end very strong. Her Q counts as an ability, so it's sort of like Ezreal Q. It will proc the Trinity Force when you land those Q auto decks. It's pretty strong overall, given that it was buffed a little bit. I'm not super familiar with Zeri builds this patch, but I would not be surprised at all if it is up there among the new mythics. Just giving her that movement speed and the Q synergy overall gets a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, we see Aurelia trading very heavily against the Volibear. Aurelia finished her Bork. As I was saying earlier, Aurelia wants that Bork to be able to do whatever she wants in lane. I mean, she has a lot of sustain. She can Q minions. She can Q minions quite easily, like, and kill them quite easily. It gives her a lot of HP. At this point in time, she has much more sustain than Volibear, but Volibear does have the completed Iceborne.
It's got a jungler as well coming to help. Stun onto Volibear, but not onto the Lilia. Imagine Festus might get put to sleep. Instead, they go against it. How do you feel about that? I feel like, in my mind, that could have been a dive.
She was half HP. You have Volibear R. You have Lilia R. That is definitely a dive in my book.
Maybe worried about the Graves coming out of the woodwork, right? They don't have any vision in the top side. If you take a look at the minimap, Graves just over by the Herald. Maybe worried that he might have been lurking in the shadows.
Yeah, I really don't like the fact that they don't have vision where they have their players. They have Zeri. They have Zeri's Seraphine, who aren't going to leave lane. So they want any defensive vision they can so that they don't get dove. And then
He's not in the bush.
They want aggressive vision on the other side of the map.
Maybe it was genius, though. He says, okay, I'm not going to recall in the bush, and that way I'll get jumped on, and then we can find the counter kill. Turned out Swirl Seed didn't quite land. Not quite enough. Splash, but gets pulled out of the stun. Very nice fancy feat from the Zeri. Pops the ultimate as well. They have their mythic completed. Seraphine ultimate across. Not quite going to gain the distance and get onto Sertopi. We flip back to the top lane, or the top side, I should say. Leafwing getting one shot by Mons yet again, but Splash found that kill in the bot lane. That Trinity Force doing some big damage.
Yeah, we mentioned draft. I'm not very impressed by Kimberly not banning out the grades. I mean, that's just that should be an important ban.
468 damage crit on the 20% chance from that collector. That has to hurt. But I agree. I think you definitely need to ban that champion out. A lot of healing. Ravenheart gets a lot of HP back, but that Blade of the Ruin King ripping through the Volibear. That item does a lot of damage in a 1v1.
I feel like she definitely could have gotten that.
No. Oh, the fail flash to add insult to injury. 667 is the new record on the crit damage. Mons. That was not the Hex Gate you wanted to take.
That is a feels bad flash. They don't have the defensive vision on the bot side of the map when they should be having that. Is like I mentioned this before. You want vision defensively where you aren't playing aggressively, and then you want vision aggressive where you are playing your players on the map.
On vision now too, Mons has the Ghost Blade available, might look for something here. Empress Hanny is just going to get one shot. You have to feel, yes, absolutely Splash, but no cleanse. Actually does have the cleanse, but not able to survive. 2 for 0 thus far. Fighting the top lane and the mid lane. Will stay in the mid lane. It is Tok finding that pop blossom, but Old Croc has perfect execution. The 5-point strike as well. Ignite is down onto the Akai, but it's not enough. Finding that counter kill. Tok taken out by Old Croc. Festus might look for a bit more, but in the bot lane, it is on the inhibitor tower. This is a very strong push for Wisconsin Lutheran, looking dominant yet again here in game number 2. Inhibitor number 1 may be taken down relatively soon. Sometimes people don't like to take the inhibitor early, but it looks like they have no such qualms, potentially. Very slow to take it, but eventually they will take that down. First inhibitor is gone, and they'll take the gate out to safety. Sir Toby has been left completely out to dry, and maybe is actually able to just walk out. I would be stunned if Sir Toby survives this play, but Ravenheart going to get pulled in by Skycode. This may be a very strange fight. Tell a lie. Sir Toby appears to be fine. I don't understand how they got out of that.
Yeah, I mean, the Zeri W hit Sir Toby, so they probably had the chance to run him down, but they decided against it. And I'm surprised as well. The other team were focused on the volley bear that took the Hex Gate having to ult out, so nobody was near Sir Toby or even paying attention.
Taking down the red buff, giving it over to Tok as well. Friendly reminder, if you didn't read the patch notes, everybody gets Ivern passive now once you have upgraded Smite, so this blue buff will drop as well. Unless their Smite's not upgraded, which it is not. So there you can see, no blue buff dropped, no upgraded Smite, but once that is upgraded, you get one shot by Mons while you're in the shop.
Yeah, that is quite unfortunate. Always pay attention when you're basing, no matter what.
Over the wall, Empress Hanny. Okay, both of them down to 50% HP. A nice deadly flourish from Jin. Collateral damage not. Oh, it did find the kill on Empress Hanny in the back line. That was very nicely done by Mons. Once again, showing their prowess on this champion, continuing to push forward onto Ravenheart and Old Croc, who are forced to flee. Try to find a bit of solace in the base. Lightning is down to slow the withdrawal, slow the attack, I should say, but the march continues for Lutheran.
Graves just has a lot of damage. Nobody is building any armor right now.
Ultimate's there. Ravenheart in a lot of trouble again. Curtain Call is there. Finds the first, can't find the second. Nice flash from Ravenheart. Very nice reaction time, but Sir Toby gets himself into the game by picking up the kill onto Leafwing, onto the second inhibitor turret right now. Old Croc in the Shroud. Got to go for some sort of play. At some point, you have to feel Kimberly to get themselves back in this one. 12,000 gold lead at this point for Wisconsin Lutheran, looking incredibly, incredibly strong. We keep saying it, but it continues to be true. Baron, not even on the map, but once it is, you imagine they may pick that up very quickly.
Yeah, I believe, even from way earlier, the Herald, I don't believe that the Herald should have gone bot. Definitely should have gone top lane, because that volley bear, I mean, the volley bear hasn't even died.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
0-0-0.
Volley bear would be able to contest the side lane more, and then Lilia would have had the extra gold, because, you know, with taking it top side, you have the volley bear ult, you have the Lilia sleep, nobody can contest that Herald, but instead it was wasted bot side.
Mons continuing the chase. Oh, look out, look out. You do not want to be in this situation. If you are Kimberly, they are surrounded by everybody. Splashba going to get taken down very soon. You have to feel, yes, indeed, they find the support as well. Empress Hanny and Splashba taken out. Tok continuing to push. 5 against 3 now. Irelia still 0-0-2. Sort of feels sad, but they're going to get there in the end. 1,000 damage crit, taking out Leafwing. Beautifully played. You have to imagine this will be the game-ending push. The bot lane is up reasonably quickly. See if they're up in time to try to defend, but I don't think it will matter in any event. Here goes Mons trying to do even more damage. Old Croc going to get stunned up. It's the last stand for Kimberly. Can they find a kill? They find one kill. They shut down the support, but it doesn't make any difference in the world. Nexus Tower number 1 has been taken out. You've picked up the support, but all the other damage dealers are still here. Mons is still 60%. Curtain Call has been opened up. The second Nexus Tower goes down, and it is Wisconsin Lutheran who will be your state League of Legends champions here. Wisconsin High School Esports Association.
Yeah, Mons with another dominating performance. Game after game, we have yet to see Mons do bad.
No. 4 games, 4 up, 4 down. Congratulations to Wisconsin Lutheran. They played phenomenally today. A very, very solid set of games from them, taking down the number 1 seed Kimberly in the grand finals, 2-0.
Yeah. All right. We will take a quick break as we get ready for post-game interview with Wisconsin Lutheran's coach. So we will see you in a bit.
heard of me, 'cause that name ring bells like I lost the key. No mystery, I know you heard of me. 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 No mystery, I know you heard of me, 'cause that name ring bells like I lost the key. No mystery, I know you heard of me, 'cause that name ring bells like I lost the key. No mystery, I know you heard of me, 'cause that name ring bells like I lost the key. No mystery, I know you heard of me, 'cause that name ring bells like I lost the key. No mystery, I know you heard of me. No mystery, I know you heard of me. No mystery, I know you heard of me. No mystery, I know you heard of me.
Welcome back, everybody. We are now joined by Wisconsin Lutheran's victorious coach. It's Coach Bill. Thanks for being here.
No problem.
First off, we got to just go kind of generic. How does it feel? You're finally the champions.
Spectacular. It's our 4th year in our program, and it took us this long to get here, and I have nothing but praise for my students.
Nothing but praise for the students. We've seen you on stream a couple of times, I think, this year that I've cast you so far. You've always looked very strong. Sort of what was your process going through the season, making sure you kept up that dominant performance and then bringing it all the way through at the state championship?
We actually had quite a roster turnover with 1 week before playoffs.
Got it.
So our mid laner and our ADC are playing off role.
Got it.
So that's why you see some of the
Sure.
unconventional strategies going forward, and I really have to give it up to them. Those two were not even playing this season. We had some unfortunate events with some of our players having to leave the country as they were graduating high
Sure.
school. So we had to turn our roster a week before playoffs.
Absolutely.
And those guys just put in hours and hours and hours.
Right. In the end, it definitely worked out. How does that go for the players already on the team? Sort of feeling we've got, suddenly new teammates into playoffs. How did they react to that change?
So we have a pretty robust JV program,
Okay.
and everybody is always of the mindset of being the next man up.
Sure.
Everybody's waiting for their turn. Everyone has the same ideology. We just always, everybody plays their role.
Got it. And they definitely did. Everybody seemed like they were stepping up to the table. Mons especially,
Absolutely.
just crushing it from the jungle position.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on him?
He's an absolutely dominant player, sometimes to his detriment. He probably goes a little bit too hard sometimes. You get a little bit of those solo queue tendencies.
Sure.
But when you really a problem is spectacular to have him be like, hey, dial it back, maybe just a little bit. But
Yep.
he's a spectacular player. You can't really ban him. He's
Yeah.
probably got 6 or 7 champions that he can play at that level. So we always
Sure.
see people throwing bans at his direction, and it's really of no consequence.
Yeah, we were calling for more bans. I'm excited to see what picks 3, 4, and 5 might have been at some point in the future. We thought maybe we would see that overextension at some point this game. No shields this time, but no, absolutely playing it right to a T. Incredibly fun to watch.
We favor the Enchanter bot lanes, but Jaden, WL Skycode, he's one of my seniors who I've been with for 4 years. His signature champion is Pike. this whole boot camp that we had after school ended, he's been playing nothing but we call them I ladies instead of girls. So like he's imagine a pike main having to play Karma for 6 hours a day for 2 weeks because they're done with school. So they've just been
now they can play.
Yeah, they've just been grinding, and he was just like, they banned the Karma, and he was like, pike, give me pike, please.
It looked great.
Yeah, he's
piloted it well. Last question for you, sort of future bod. What does the future of Wisconsin Lutheran hold?
Our two of our players are going to be coming back. We are losing, 3 players for seniors. We're going to come back, and it's the program ideology. Like it's our players can swap in and out. We have just a kind of a standard of expectation that Wisconsin Lutheran carries in towards of all of its sports. So we have the same idea. Our catchphrase is First Lord, Second Team, and that is in football, basketball, League of Legends, everything that we do. We always have that front of mind.
Got it. Absolutely. I look forward to potentially casting more games in the future for Wisconsin Lutheran. Thank you so much for the interview, and congratulations on the win.
Thanks again.
Thanks to all the viewers at home who have been watching throughout the day. It's been a lot of fun to cast this alongside our first-time caster, Hunter Yakovich, getting him in here. I think he did an absolutely fantastic job. Make sure you guys stay tuned because we have the semifinals for Wisconsin High School Esports Association Valorant coming up. So we're done with League for now, but we've got Valorant coming your way. And don't forget, of course, to follow at Carthage Esports on all social medias. Thanks again to everybody at Carthage for hosting this event today. It has been a blast to get to see their studio and everything else. This has been Jarl Karl and Yakovich saying so long, take care, and we'll see you next time. Valorant's coming up.
But high Wheaton shoves that right over to the Lions half. Looks like this one's going in. Oh, are you kidding me? Don't ask. Oh, don't open behind. We're gonna see the barrage. The barrage.
Oh my gosh, Nico is just dominating right now.
What a play!
That's disgusting.
Oh my gosh.
That was disgusting.
One.